everyone, welcome to Bexcellent Living. Today I will be showing you what I do with my tomatoes. This morning the kids and we harvested the whole garden and ended up with 27 pounds of tomatoes, and I still had some ripening on my counter, so I will be adding those to the mix. So stick around. I hope you enjoy. The equipment you're going to need today: a paring knife. I like to use a cutting board. Not everyone does, but I do. I love using cutting board for cutting. You can just use your hand. A jar if you plan on saving seeds from your tomatoes. You're going to need a jar. It does not have to be a glass mason jar. It can be a plastic container. But you're just going to want something to put the seeds in, and some freezer bags, some gallon-sized freezer bags. And it looks like I'm going to need to get some more of those because I have a lot of tomatoes to take care of today. So a sink full of water. I have my tomatoes here soaking in the water. My tomatoes do not have pesticides or anything like that on them. These are just tomatoes. I don't spray mine or do anything like that. I just use water. If you were to buy tomatoes from the store or from the farmer's market or anything like that and you're unsure, you're going to want to wash them in vinegar water. And you can just use some white distilled vinegar and just dump some in there. Probably, I don't know, maybe a cup per gallon of water or something like that. It doesn't have to be real strong. And then you're just going to want to let them soak in there for a little while, and then just kind of rinse them off when you're done. You drain the water and go ahead and rinse them. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and, because I put vinegar in this, I'm going to drain my water and rinse all of these tomatoes back off. I mean, it's really not going to hurt anything if there's vinegar on your tomatoes. I just don't really care to have that on them right now. So I'm just going to rinse them off with cold water. Since those are already washed, I'm not going to fill my sink back up, but I will for the next batch. So I just cut the top off. You don't have to cut these in half, but this saves a huge step later. So you're going to cut them in half, and you're just going to take your thumb and you're going to get all the seeds out, just like that. You can compost them if you want to, but if you are saving seeds, what you're going to do is, this is where your jar comes in handy, or your container. You're going to put the seeds in here. Get all those seeds out. You're going to fill it with water. It doesn't have to be super full, just needs to cover the seeds that are in there. You're going to put the lid on. Now this is not a brand new lid. This is one that I had used previously on another jar. I do keep them sometimes if they're not in awful shape for things like this, for, you know, just to store different things in that doesn't need to have a seal on. So I do keep a few of these around. I don't keep all of them, but if they're in good shape, I'll keep them. This one's in good shape. So you just shake it. That's it. Now you're going to want to do this a couple times a day. That gel that's on the seeds right now is how God created these tomatoes to not start growing inside of each other, because tomatoes have a lot of water on them. That gel is a growth inhibitor, and just by fermenting them for a few days in some water, like probably, I don't know, 5 days or whatever, just from doing that, it will dissolve that gel, and then you'll just have seeds. Okay, once you have the seeds out of your tomatoes, go ahead and stick them in your gallon freezer bag. Or quart if you don't have gallon-sized freezer bags. You can use a quart-sized bag, anything like that. You're just gonna want it to be a thick bag for the freezer. We will be freezing these when we're done. So this one here, I had some of the core still in it. So you just take that out, use your fingers, get all of the seeds out of it. I mean, for the most part, there might be a few left. And then go ahead and stick it in the bag. All right, I have my first freezer bag filled with tomatoes. I will squish them down. I'm just gonna turn these into sauce. So me squishing them down really doesn't hurt anything. And get all the air out. I'm gonna put tomatoes and the date on there. Lay it as flat as I can. And that's ready for the freezer. All right, I got my last gallon of tomatoes in here. I have most of the seeds out. There are definitely some left in there. I'll squish it down. So I ended up with 3.5 gallon bags full of tomatoes. 3.5 of those. I still have to label them. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put these in the freezer to freeze. And when I'm ready, when I have time, I will pull them out and I will cook these down to make sauce. So when you thaw these, the skins will just peel right off. So depending on what you're doing with them, you know, it just makes it super easy. So you just, when they thaw, you just peel the skins right off of them, and then you can put them like in a roaster or in a pan, and you can cook them down, season it to make your sauce, and then can it. You don't even have to take the seeds out if you don't want to. You can chop them up and freeze them. You can just freeze them whole. My seeds have been fermenting for a good week now, if not a little longer. Let's see if I can get this open. So they've all sunk to the bottom. What doesn't sink to the bottom is not viable. So I'm just going to pour out some of the liquid on top in case there is something floating, and then I'm going to strain the rest of it with this mesh strainer. I'm going to rinse them too a little bit and get some of that, what's left of the pulp off. All right. So here are my tomato seeds, as you can see. There's quite a few in there. I don't need all of them. That would be a lot of tomatoes. So now I've put them on this, it's wax paper, which is on top of a paper plate. I marked it with the variety, Giant Belgium. That's the type of tomato these will be, or are. It's the type of seeds that these are. I cannot talk right this morning. And I'm going to try and separate the seeds as much as possible. And then you're just going to want to let them sit and air dry for, I don't know, a week. Depends on the humidity level. Till they're dry. Maybe it takes longer. I just kind of let them sit in a area that I don't use very much for anything but seeds and things like that. And then I just let them dry, air dry. And there you have it. So once your tomato seeds have dried, these are ones that I have, that I dried a while ago. These aren't the same that you just saw me put on the wax paper. These are a sweet orange cherry tomato variety, and I do not know the name of them. So I have a container here. This was just like an old medicine container that I had, and I saved because it seals tightly. You can also use like a plastic, this is just like a little Ziploc bag. But once they've dried completely, then you'll go ahead and you'll just store them in a container like this. Make sure that you label them. You probably should put the date on them. I did not on this one. I'll do that right now. So this is August of 2021. That way you know when you stored them, what year they were from. That's how you save tomato seeds.